Yo guys, what's up? This is your boy GB Karma, or Dunk, however you may know me now. Pretty much with this video I'm just going to be explaining to you guys some competitive Call of Duty tips on how to better control the spawns for your opponent on Warhawk Blitz. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with that. So starting with the Federation side, on this map you can see that the yellow dot is where your Blitz point would be, or your main default spawn. The colored squares are representations of where your opponent would spawn in certain situations, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So basically, that red spawn you see right there is what we will call their default spawn. By default, if none of the other spawns are taken up, that is where they're going to spawn. But, however, there is something called blocking a spawn, which we can do to alter their spawns to get them to spawn where we want. Now, keep in mind, to block a spawn, like, you don't just have to stand in the spawn to block it. You can be directly looking at it. So, if I am trying to block their default spawn, not only can I just look at it I could go stand in it, but I could directly look at it too, and this is going to block it. Now, once this default spawn that I'm standing in is blocked, they're going to spawn at one of their secondary spawns. By that, I mean that they're going to spawn over here, or they're going to spawn over in this building called Fire over here. And what we can do, for instance in Blitz, is if you want to set up a spawn trap with your team, you could, for instance, have someone on your team set up like right here, watching this way. And if you have your teammates push up through that Fire side, and if they're going for that Blitz portal, or if they're pushed up Fire side and even looking in that direction of the default spawn, as long as you aren't directly looking, like if you were standing over here and looking at this, then you'd be blocking that spawn. But as long as you're not directly looking at that spawn and you're just looking this way, they're just going to keep spawning over here, guys. And that mortar honestly just hit me straight in the face, but they're just going to keep spawning over here. And you can also control that by, if you wanted to have a guy stand right here, he's going to be blocking the spawn for default. You have your teammates keep pushing through Fire, and they're just going to keep spawning right there. You could also inverse this and have your team start pushing up through this way. And because that we are blocking their default spawn, and the spawn over by where I just showed you, they're automatically going to spawn over here in Fire. So, as an AR player who's trying to put them in a spawn trap, you could sit in places like this, or I don't even know, make something creative out of this, or something with the water tower. You can force them into spawn traps like this, because they're going to keep spawning in Fire. Now, necessarily, if they spawn in Fire, are they going to run to you? No, not necessarily, because their first initial thought might be, oh shit, they're capping, let's come back to save this. So, I don't know. It's just like thoughts of what you could do. Alright, so now moving on to the other side of the map, now we're at the ghost spawn. This map represents what where they will spawn when you have the ghost spawn. Now, like I said, red is going to be automatically where they spawn. So, knowing how this map works now, I'm going to give you guys a couple examples of how you could spawn trap them on the other team. So, if I were to sit right here watching this bar, as you can see in this map, I'm actually not blocking anything. Where I'm looking, that alley right there, there's not, I mean, there is a spawn point there they could spawn, but they've got other spots within that area where they could spawn that I'm not blocking anything. So if I wanted to sit right here and I had my teammates push through American, maybe if they're an American, they're going to be blocking the default spawn also by just looking in that general direction. So because they're over there, my teammates are going to force the opponents to spawn in the secondary spawn over here in bar. So where I'm looking is at the window where bar is, because initially when my teammates are pushing left, if they're pushed up left, the people are going to spawn in bar, they're going to run over to that door, and when they run over to that door, I'm just going to pop them straight through this window because they're going to go over to try to save from capping. Alternatively, you could come and watch it from over here, but you're not really saving your teammates as much. You're more just getting them if they come out. If you were to flip it to the other side, which we can do if I come over here real quick. As you could see, if you wanted your teammates to push up through bar and you wanted to come spawn trap over here on the left-hand side, you could. If I wanted to sit right here and watch when they spawn back American, then this would work perfectly fine. I would suggest not looking like directly at the spot, or it's probably going to block it. But if you're sitting here, just kind of hip firing right here in this area, and then all of a sudden they pop out, boom, they shouldn't be ready for you anyway. You should win that gunfight 9 times out of 10. Unless they make like a huge play or something. So your teammates are going to be pushing up to the right side through bar. It's probably going to block the default spawn just because they're near it, because they're looking at it. Most likely it's going to get blocked. They're just going to keep spawning right there. And personally, I think that your best option is to push them up through here. Push your objective players up to the left side. Just because this spawn trap right here is so deadly. They're going to be sitting in this window right back there at bar, and you're just going to get them every time. There's like no way for them to stop it. It's super deadly. But if you want to try it from the other way, I've seen people in teams do it from this way too, and it's worked perfectly fine also. Alright, now one thing I want to point out on both sides is that you see this little purple area called the overflow spawn. This is when your team gets too pushed up and there's no other spawn point for them to spawn at. They're going to spawn in their overflow. Now, you have to be really careful when they spawn at their overflow, because technically when they're spawning at their overflow, they're spawning kind of behind you, and they pretty much have a free run straight at your spawn. And I don't know if that's something you want to do, if you want to risk, if you want to be that aggressive. It's really up to you and your team, but it can be risky. And also, if you look at the other side, there is an overflow spawn, same kind of idea. This one isn't quite as bad, but if you're pushed up like that and they spawn mid-street, they got a lot shorter run to get to your blitz point. So that's basically all I wanted to share with you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, please like, comment. Yeah, just let me know. Subscribe. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. I hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you guys later.